And welcome back to another episode of Pokemon Knowledge. On today's episode, this was actually a very spontaneous live that I'm going to do. And I was just sitting down, I was thinking about a video to make, and I couldn't really think of a topic. But then it just came to me. I said, why don't I just talk about the last year in Pokemon? Because really, this channel has only been around for a little over a year now. We just celebrated the 1 year anniversary on this channel, but I was like, man, it's time of recording this live, it's December 7th, 2021. And I'm like, man, it's been a freaking crazy year. And even if you just go back about a year, so we're going to cheat a little bit. Instead of going back 12 months, I think we need to go back like right around 13 months, right to November of 2020. Because when you think about how much the market and the hobby and everything changed right around that time. It was definitely like that October, November 2020. And for like the modern boom, yeah, everybody talks about like the Logan Paul stuff and that whole conversation, that's just been beaten to a pulp. Everyone understands that. But when you think about it, like what came out end of September 2020, September 25th, 2020 was Champions Path. And when you think about Champions Path, like the most perfect like collection box ETB artwork, like the black ETB with the Charizard artwork. It had the Charizard V inside of it. Everybody just went crazy. And then right after that, in November, what was the set we got? We got Vivid Voltage with the hyper rare Chunkachu. It had amazing rares. The first time anybody had ever seen amazing rares. And with the amazing rares and the artwork coming out, and you could call those amazing rares what you want, or the artwork, whatever you want to call it. I call it like that graffiti type art style. It's like it's not, I wouldn't call it, would maybe go a little too far to call it Banksiest, but you know what I'm talking about, like that graffiti type artwork. And where the actual the character, the Mason rares were very similar almost to a gold star, in the sense that the gold stars were the first cards we ever saw where the actual characters were coming out of like the borders of the card, or the normal, like, you know call it viewing screen or whatever you want to call it on the card. And the Mason Rares had that sort of feel to it, but with this amazing sort of artwork. So I think it was just a perfect storm. And we had already gone through like the craziness that was early 2020. So coming towards the end of 2020, everything just started stacking up on top of each other. And I remember in November really starting to just, I don't know what's the like proper way to say it, but not just realizing like that we are in this crazy time, but in November was when I really started to appreciate, and I was able to take a step back and just look at 2020 from the outside looking in, as hard as it was, because I know I was, and I'm sure most of you guys out there listening, we were in the heat of it, like the thick of 2020. We were there, so we understand exactly what that market was. But I did my best, and I tried everything that I could do to just pull myself out and just look at it from, the outside looking in. And it was hard because I was there in the craziness. Like I saw what was going on. And I think that was tough. But once I was able to do that, and I was like, man, there's something really special going on here. And one of those things that was really special is a lot of people either re entering the hobby, or something very amazing, entering the hobby for the first time. Very similar to prior, the way a lot of us had re entered the hobby. You always need like some sort of catalyst, whatever that catalyst might be of why you enter the hobby. But 2020 just stacked up, just this perfect series of events. So then just watching like the crazy demand for Champions Path, and the crazy demand for uh Vivid Voltage, and then PSA. Like PSA, the turnaround times at that point were already going like absolutely nuts. But then, that was really, when you think about it, at the end of November, December, January time, that was when people really started to look for alternative grading card companies. And yeah, CGC, yeah, they were the new kid on the block, and they just came out in July 2020. And When you think about real early 2020 when CGC first came on, and there was a lot of like questionable things that people were talking about, like especially like on E4 with CGC potentially like shilling for themselves, and some really questionable posts, not just on E4 but on Reddit and throughout different social medias. People started to see these real questionable like CGC type pump ups, and I think it raised a lot of eyebrows for a lot of people, and probably some of that was maybe a little unwarranted by the skepticism a lot of people have. But we also found out that like some of that skepticism was actually really justified. So at the end of 2020, I think that's when people really started to look for alternative grading, because at that point, PSA, all likelihood, you were not going to get your cards back at a bulk grading tier anytime soon. And you think there's very, very few returns even trickling in right now from like November 2020. So when you think about it, when people were really looking for that alternative grading, that was the end of 2020, because it was just this crazy amount of hype, and people looked at their collections, childhood binders, bulk purchases they'd bought in the past, and they looked at all these cards that previously, most, if not all, of like the big bulk purchases were more or less ungradable. You couldn't go around and flip PSA 8 or PSA 9 unlimited Charmander or Bulbasaur or Squirtle. Like, there was no market for cards like those. But we just saw the market do a hard shift. And when I say it was a hard shift, is people weren't really looking for raw cards anymore. People were just fiending for anything graded. So 2020, like I said, it was just one thing after another. Things kept stacking up on top of each other. And then, coming out of 2020, like what was the set, or what were the sets that came out? Well, right after Vivid Voltage, we saw Shining Fates. The hype that surrounded Shining Fates right off the rip, like, I don't know if people are really going to be able to remember this like years from now. Like, that's one of those reasons I'm making a video like this, is so we could talk about it now. I think still fresh in our memory. But you think about the hype that Shining Fates had right at release, it was like the savior of all sets. Like, Shining Fates came down from the skies and the Pokemon gods blessed us all, because you know what happened? Everybody missed their opportunity for Hidden Fates. Or if you didn't miss your opportunity for Hidden Fates, you just never picked up as much as you probably should have. You know, if you were lucky, you probably picked up one Hidden Fates, you know, premium collection box, just because they store very awkwardly. You can't stack stuff on them. So you probably didn't go out and just chase a bunch of those. Or if you had opportunities to pick up Hidden Fates ETBs, you only picked up one or two. God knows when it came to Shining Legends, like that shit sat on the month forever. We all missed our opportunities for stuff like that. But now, because we all realize, maybe I should have went after Hidden Fates a little bit harder than I actually did. Shining Fates was like this alternative for a lot of people. They're like, well, I missed this. I missed these boats, but Shining Fates is there. And what does Shining Fates has? It has another freaking Charizard. It was like, we went from Champion's Path to Charizards to Vivid Voltage, Pikachu to Shining Fates, Charizard. It was just like all this stuff just started piling. And then Shining Fates have the baby Shinings. And, depending on what sort of collector you are, I know there's a lot of baby Shining collectors out there. Like, it's not this small subset of the hobby. It's probably like a decent large amount. And then full art Shining cards, like people love those things. So then next thing we know, it's just more people pile into Shining Fates, and it didn't stop. But at the whole time all this is happening, is all the supply that was there, or whatever little remnants of supply we had, was gone. Vivid Voltage, shells are picked clean. Champion's Path, shells are picked clean. Even like the very unpopular sets, Sword and Shield base, shelves picked clean, Rebel Clash gone, Darkness Ablaze gone. And then when you go back to like the most closest Sun and Moon sets, Unbroken Bonds gone, Cosmic Eclipse gone, Celestial Storm gone. Like, Team Up, gone. Everything was just gone. So it was just living literally like in whatever day it was living in the today of that day. So if you were in February, it was living in today. And there was just like this extremely hard barrier sometimes just to get product at retail. Just go pick up, a 3-pack blister at Walmart, something like so simple that we took for granted forever. And I think, now we're getting back to that point of that pre-2020 where you could actually go into a Walmart or a Target and pick up product. Like, it is a great feeling. But back to the beginning of 2020, then people forget when battle styles came out. Yeah, like right now, today, we talk about battle styles as being like the cheapest of all available modern sets. You can pick up a booster box probably shipped for between 80 and $90. Like, that is an absolutely crazy thought process because battle styles right at release, we saw booster box prices creep all the way up to like $160. Battle styles ETBs were going nuts. It was just this absolutely crazy time. And when you think about 2020, you think about early 2020, I would say that it was definitely the most fun I've had in Pokemon for a long time, and it was definitely like the best time to be a seller. But man, it was stressful from a lot of like different points. And that's one of the reasons like I made this channel is because I wanted to talk about like be careful buying this stuff, guys. Like, this is, and people always will talk about like Pokemon, and I think that's when the conversation of like the Pokemon bubble started getting brought up. It got brought up super early, like 2020. People were seeing exactly what was happening at release, and it was just talking about like this bubble. Like, these prices are not in any way potentially sustainable. But the thing was is those prices were definitely very sustainable in the short term because Pokemon, their printing capabilities was not up to par at all. When you think about it, it really was not. Just Pokemon could not print enough to meet anybody, whether it was LGS, big box retail, online, Pokemon Center, forget about it. Pokemon Center was pick clean too. It was just the world had changed, the market had changed. And man, I'll tell you what though, the enthusiasm was, it was like, it like warmed your soul. And as crazy it is to say something like talk about Pokemon and talking about like enthusiasm warming your soul, but it did. Like, to see how enthusiastic people were about Pokemon, but then not only to see how enthusiastic people were about Pokemon, but to see how enthusiastic people were about Modern. Because when you think about it, Modern was the thing that people were least enthusiastic about. Nobody ever wanted to really talk about Modern. Modern was just like another thing. And with the exception of playability, like people would always look at new cards released and the playability, but like this crazy investment mindset that, oh, I could pick up this booster box on the day of release and flip it the next day for, a 25, 40, 50% gains we were seeing, like things that were just so far out of the norm. But it's just crazy when you think about like these set after set. And then, we came out of battle styles and we still had like Chill and Rain. And then Chill and Rain had all this, like, I would say, I don't know. Chill and Rain was such a hype set right off the rip. People were talking about Chill and Rain, talking about the legendary birds, talking about alternative arts. And we really started talking about alternative arts with like battle styles and that alternative art Tyranitar. Like, then everybody's just mind switched and it was like, okay, this is going to be the future. Alternative arts is where it's at. The artwork in these things is crazy. And then Chill and Rain just pumped alternative arts down people's throat. And then Chill and Rain prices went crazy. And then we couldn't even really get a cool down out of Chill and Rain because by the time Chill and Rain got released on the day of, everybody had already seen all the leaks for Evolving Skies. Evolving Skies, everyone knew what card was in Evolving Skies, and it was like the day before Chill and Rain was going to officially be released. we started to move past sets faster than they were coming out. It was just a crazy time. Like Battle Styles, yeah, it had hype, but then Battle Styles died off from Chill and Rain, and before Chill and Rain could even like really pick up, like I said, Evolve and Skies, and then we were moving on from set to set in just lightning speed. And I don't know if it was like the community as a whole or channels like this or PokeTubers or whatever, but we were just pumping out like, talking about the content of these sets, and we were seeing sets be open like so far earlier than ever before. Like leaks in Pokemon, Pokebeach, stuff like that is not new. Like we've always known the cards, but never as early as we're seeing them or had seen them. And then even you think about like one of the next big super hype sets that followed that was Celebrations. And Celebrations, when you think about how early the leaks for Celebrations came out, Celebration leaks were like months ahead of time. People were not only showing the leaks, but people like got their hands on some product. And yes, there's no way that the people that got their hands on that super early product and was selling packs on Whatnot or however they were selling those packs of Celebrations. And some people sent cards away for grading before the set had even hit like distributors, meaning that some of these cards needed to probably make it out of the back door of like the printing facilities. Like we were just in this crazy, crazy time. And yeah, it's just, I kind of just want to like sit back and think about like, what was it like in the last year? Because I've talked about on this channel before, days go by slow, but months and years go by fast. But when you're living in the now, in the day to day, for all this hype, it was fun, but it was like every day it seemed like some new Pokemon story hit or some new content you could pump out, or, like all this stuff was happening at just lightning speed. Like, we were here one day and then a week later, all that stuff was just like antiquated information, and we had just gone like so far out. And the content that I would normally like to watch, or the content that I would normally like to make, you know, talking about vintage stuff or talking about older sets, and that stuff like quickly was not what wanted people want to hear. People want to talk about the now. They want to talk about the today. And the now today is just like that constant like grind, but it was such a fun time. Like I would say that a lot of people would maybe get burned out from that stuff, but I think if anything, it helped ramp up a lot of people. And even people that were in the hobby for a long time, I think a lot of people like got this shot of adrenaline to them, and they were just rejuvenated in the hobby, not just because they enjoyed the hobby, but because they were able to pull out the enjoyment of seeing everybody around them and the enthusiasm. Like sometimes things can be a little like boring if it's only you getting excited about stuff. But if you were able to share in that, and the community had grown so quick, so fast, it was just an awesome time. You, and then I want you guys to think about this. This is all within a year's timeline. Then when we came out of Celebrations and we come into now Fusion Strike, and the hype had really like maybe not died down. I think that's like the big farce we tell people, or that's the big lie we say, is we say the hype is died down. That's like the farthest thing from the truth, because you can still go into a lot of stores and you can't really pick up product at a lot of places. Has the hype died down? Yes, but it has not like died by any sense. There is still way more demand than we saw even early 2020, definitely late 2019, 18, 17. Forget about like the farther back you go, you still can't compare the demand. And I don't care what people say, 2016 demand, even at the height of the Pokemon Go boom, was still not like the demand we're seeing right now today, December 7th, 2021. Like the demand and the hype right now is still stronger than it was in 2016, in my opinion. And I don't care what people say, like there's still, but now we're not at this like crazy hype level where prices for a lot of product had just gone so far against, like the norm or anything that makes sense, right? But now we're starting to see, prices retrace, and not just prices in a couple sets, in a lot of sets, but it was because we saw that huge flood of supply hit the market like at one time. And we've talked about it and we speculate on this channel. We don't know if Pokemon was actually holding that stuff back or if this was like an actual calculated decision Pokemon did to hold back this product purposely and to dump it all on the market at one time to try to kill like the scalpers or that, FOMO that a lot of people are going in to oversaturate the supply. No one really knows. I mean, it's just all speculation. But if that is what they were planning, I've said it before, I'll say it again. It worked. Like, if that was really what they meant to do, it worked. But then now it's crazy too because I always talked about Pokemon too. And now this is a sort of semi-investment channel, and I've said it before and I'll say it again. Listen, I'm not an investment professional. Like, don't take my advice as to heart. But with that said, like we always talk about the more investability of Pokemon. And one of the strong things I always believed, and I still believe in it, is in order for Pokemon to have those true long-term gains, like you have to shake out a lot of these people. You cannot just have like the scalpers run the market. There's no long-term growth for investing with that type of like price increases where right at release product is selling for, 130, then 140, and then we saw with Evolving Skies all the way up to like 180 at the peak. Like that is not good for the long-term investability of the hobby. The long-term investability, you need to get your product at price points where you can see a future, where you get in low enough that you can look at other products surrounding you and say, well, what's a fair price for this thing to potentially get up to in the future? But what happened was at that 180 mark, there were no prices that were good entry points. But once things start to retrace a little bit and they get back to, I'm gonna give you guys like a high dollar amount, and this is a very broad across the board dollar amount for a lot of products, but like if you can buy a booster box all in, so taxes, shipping, everything at 108, which is still right now on the high end of a lot of products. Chill and Rain, Battle Styles, you could probably pick up, if you shop around long enough, you could probably pick up some Evolving Skies at 180 shipped all in. And then, yeah, probably more likely than not, Fusion Strike 2 at that 108. That's like a $3 cost per pack. So it's like, well, what do you think is the future? Well, do I think the possibility of those packs going up to, you know, $20 a pack, is that reasonable? No. And I think the worst argument that I hear people put up, and it's one of those arguments where you sit back and you just like you wish you didn't hear it. People will do real weird things. They'll say, well, do you really think that in 20 years from now, Battle Styles is going to do the same exact thing that Shadowless First Edition base did? Do you think in 20 years from now, a booster box of Battle Styles is going to be $300,000? And like, it makes your head like hurt and makes your head want to explode because it's just such an impossible argument to ever have with somebody, because that is not what I hope that's not what anybody listening to this would ever think. But if I were to say to you, well, if you can pick up Battle Styles at $2.50 a pack right now on average, or let's just say on the high end, which would be like way higher than you would actually pay, let's say for 108. Is it possible in a 3-4 year timeline that Battle Styles booster packs are $6 a piece, assuming, this is a big assuming, that at some point between now and 4 years from now, Battle Styles actually goes out of print? Like, we talk about products in print as if they're always going to be in print, and no one knows when this stuff is going to go out of print, but it's got to be an eventuality that this stuff is going to go out of print. Because one thing, I said it before and I'll say it a million times, Pokemon does not stop. They are a train that goes down the tracks. They're chugging along. They're going to keep pumping stuff out from now until forever, or at least until the end of my lifetime. Like, Pokemon is not stopping and waiting for people. So the question is, like, what is a price point that is, you could say this is a realistic price point? If you have to buy say a pack of Steam Siege, if it's selling on eBay right now for $5 to $6, like, I'll tell you right now, like, you look at a product like that and you're like, holy cow, Steam Siege is worth $6 a pack. Is it possible that a Evolving Skies or Fusion Strike in 3, 4 years from now can be $6? Yeah, that's possible. So that is literally 100% gain, assuming your price point is $3 a pack, and that's 108 a booster box. Now, does this mean that every product across the line is going to perform the same? And the answer is no. You have to look at each product, each set. You need to identify things that are going to be, what you think is going to be more valuable in the past. Not all sets are created equal. And newsflash, that is not new in this hobby at all. It doesn't matter what set, what timeline, what period, what generation. It does not matter. All sets are not created equal. Every set is created differently. So you have to just, you know, use whatever knowledge you have about the market, about sets, about the hobby, and just make your own decisions. What sets do you think will be desirable in the future? And sure, all that is crazy subjective, but just to hear people compare a Battle Styles booster box in 20 years from now to the same price point of a Shadowless first edition base box, just it's one of those conversations where you'll never be able to win because it's so far out of like the realm of what we're talking about. And you hear people talk about things like the S&P 500, and you know what, that is a fantastic thing to compare things to, is say, well, it's about time in the market, right? Like, what will an S&P fund do over the course of 5 years opposed to Pokemon? And I've talked about this before. Your money should not all be in Pokemon, but people always miss out on like a couple things. The S&P 500, if you in a 10-year timeline, so 10 years, that's 3,650 days. I want you to think about that. 6,350 days. That's in a 10 years of the S&P 500. If you missed it, if you missed the 60 best days, your returns went from like 12.5% down to 5%. If you miss the best 30, if you miss the best 30 days, like it keeps dropping down to I'm sorry, I said it wrong. If you miss the best 60 days, I'm sorry, you're actually in the negative at the S&P 500. I should go back and say that. So if you missed out of 3,000 650 days, if you miss the best 60, your S&P fund is actually in the negative. It's not in the positive. So that's the same thing as Pokemon. Like, you need to be in the hobby to make money. And it's all about getting your price points right, man. Get your price points to a point where it makes sense. And if you guys take anything out of 2020, just shows you like the market can be as volatile as could possibly be. Like, when you think about it, it would be hard to try to make up a situation where the Pokemon market was more volatile than it actually was in 2020. Like, it was the peak of volatility. And I wish I could write. I wish I was like an English lit major and not a geologist, because I think that someday somebody's going to write a freaking fantastic book, and it's just going to be titled The Pokemon Craze of 2020, 2021. And it will be a New York Times bestseller, because it would just literally be all the things we're talking about, but in a way that will be able to, you know, sent out to the masses, people that were not just in the Pokemon hobby and people that were outside looking in, and they could read about this stuff. The same way you might know about, like, say, the tulip bubble of the 1600s or whatever. Yeah, you weren't around in the 1600s, but you probably know the story, like, because it's still interesting. Or the stock market crash in 1929. Like, you probably know the stories of that type of stuff, and not being around because that kind of stuff is interesting. And there will be a book written, and it will be, like I said, a New York Times bestseller, and I'll be the first one to read it. But yeah, I just wanted to like make this video and kind of just talk about, the hype that was 2020, 2021. And the crazy thing is I didn't even talk about like the influencers that were in the market. I didn't really touch base on like Logan Paul or all the pack breakers that got in, and all the channels that sprung up, including this one. I can't like not mention that, yeah, this channel popped up during that time. So it was just a flood of content. It was just exciting. It was just a different time. And I don't think we'll ever see it anytime soon. Like, sure, there can be some little catalysts here and there, but it won't be like this massive catalyst like we've seen in the past. So I just want to know what your guys' thoughts are about like 2020, 2021. Try to answer some of the chat questions, but honestly, this video was not planned. This was a last second thing. I was literally just sitting on my couch and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to make a video because I want to. So didn't really have anything planned, nothing written down. So I see a bunch of familiar faces or familiar names in the chat, I should say. Chill Phil said he ordered VMAX Climate booster box. Those cards are fire. Amazing artwork, a lot. Yeah. You talk about like sets still within this year timeline. The VMAX Climax, like it's an awesome set. I'm not a big Japanese collector. I already said in the previous video, but character cards, those V alternative cards, like it is an overall stack set, and we talk about it set after set after set, and and it's a good conversation to have. We're always saying, how the heck can Pokemon top what they're doing? How can they? We said it after every single set. How can you tap? How can you keep topping yourself? And I think after Evolving Skies and Celebrations, that was the big question mark on a lot of people's minds. It was, how the heck can you come out of Evolving Skies and Celebrations and top these sets at all? And yeah, Fusion Strike was probably a little bit of a stinker for a lot of people, not a huge set. And then I think that was a lot of people saying, oh, the market's going to crash. But then we're seeing the demand happen right now for VMAX Climax. And, for Brilliant Stars, we're probably going to see strong demand too. Yeah, we're only getting 30 of those character cards opposed to like the 100 or whatever that came out. But given enough time, we'll probably get them all. And who knows how they're going to be sent out to us. Probably a lot of those cards will be like promo cards and stuff. So it's still way too early. Hey, Flex God, Lord Bulbasaur, Keen, good to see you guys. Let's see. Hidden Fate slabs and singles are so cheap right now. Yeah, it's one of those weird things where when you think about the hype that was 2020, 2021, single prices or graded card prices for so many sets just went crazy because the turnaround times for all these companies were absolutely crazy. So there was just no graded supply to really meet the demand. And Hidden Fates is a perfect example of a product that is still holding very strong at like over $100. Be very hard pressed to find Hidden Fates ETB below $100. And don't quote me on this. I'm not really up to date with the Hidden Fates ETB market, but I'm sure it's holding stronger than 100. But the actual cards in the set in graded form, now that finally there's so many people grading it, and who knows when the flurry of grading cards, whenever this comes to an end, whether it's 2, 3, 4, 5 years from now, who knows? But when all the dust settles and people just go back to only trying to, grade 10s, and if you get a 9, maybe you break even, maybe an 8, you break even, depending on the card, depending on the set. Like when the dust settles, the amount of Hidden Fates cards that will be graded will be a number that people will look at that number and say, I didn't even know that this many cards existed, let alone this many cards existed to be graded. Like the backlog at PSA in Hidden Fates has to be just some astronomical number. And Hidden Fates as a sealed product play, we'll probably see it hold strong for a long time, but I've already said this before. There's 34 people tuned in right now to this live stream. Out of these 34 people, I always say it, there's probably 34 people who have sealed Hidden Fates at home right now. Like it's just that much supply is out there. But I think we'll see sealed hold strong, but yeah, the graded market will go crazy. And I think we're already starting to see like the Hidden Fates Charizard really start to take a beating. And, that being the highlight card of the set, we'll just see how far down it will actually go. It'll be interesting though, because when you think about Hidden Fates is probably like that one set that a lot of people really like because, for the older generation, and, you can't deny the fact that Gen 1 Pokemon are just, they'll always be like the big Pokemon. And you could say what you want about the new generation and Gen 8, and I always say this, like, will somebody look at a Sobble the same way we look at a Squirtle? Will somebody look at a Score Bunny the same way we look at a Charmander? It's like, yeah, maybe the younger generation will, but with that said, they'll still be able to tell you that the first 3 Gen 1 starters was Bulbasaur, Charmander, Squirtle. Like, they might not be able to tell you that the Diamond Pearl, you have Score Bunny, Squirtle, but then will they really be able to tell you Piplup? Like, maybe. Like, maybe whoever the kids are in the Gen 8 right now will be able to tell you who the starter of Diamond and Pearl was, but there's a chance that they won't be able to tell you that, but they still will be able to tell you those Gen 1 starters. And then Hidden Fates was just a set that had all these Gen 1 starters in it. And you could open a pack of Hidden Fates and not be in the hobby for 15, 20 years. And you could open up a pack and you could identify easy every single Pokemon in that pack. Like, it was a perfect product in the sense to get people like back into collecting and really get them, more familiar with like the newer cards and seeing shining cards, and even like the uh, ETB promo with the stained glass birds and stuff. Like, yeah, it was an overall like solid entry level set, and I think that's one of the reasons a lot of people really liked it. But there will be an insane amount of graded cards. Like, oof, trust me. Yeah. So Professor Oak said Battle Styles is the trickiest of all. Yeah, man. Uh, I have a Hidden Fates Premium Powers collection sealed. Yeah. Obi-Wan Kenobi. That's a great name, by the way. He said he doesn't have any sealed Hidden Fates, but I wish I did. But let me ask you a question. If you walked into your local Walmart or Target, and forget about just the actual dollar amount that Hidden Fates tin or ETB would be worth, I bet you would probably pick that up off the shelf in a heartbeat and keep that baby sealed in your closet. So, uh, hey, Mason, good to see you. I caught a very little bit of your chat on Pokenav's channel, Mason. It was you, Jake, Pokemon Radar. Caught a little bit of it. It was a fun watch. I know you guys were talking about a lot of good topics. I think one of the topics you actually talked about that I thought was interesting was you talked about like Pokemon burnout or something like that. Like, do you feel a little burned out of Pokemon? And it's funny that like the way that question was asked in that chat, Mason, because for me, it's almost like the opposite, where I was starting to feel a little bit burned out, when I talk about like the crazy hype that was early 2020 and prices going crazy. Like, I felt more burned out then than I do right now. Like, if anything, now, come end of 2021, like, I'm finally catching my second wind again because things are going back to, I don't even want to call it the norm at this point because we're still not in the norm. Whether people want to say like right now, today is the norm, it's still not the norm. You think about the Jolteon VMAX boxes that just went on to Pokemon Center. They were on yesterday. They were listed at, what were they? Like $39.99. I took a shower. I was in the shower for like 25 minutes. I got out of the shower. They were all sold out. Like, we're still not at the norm yet. Like, we're still far from the norm, but things are still getting better. Like, it's product is easier to get, and this is definitely more from the collector, side opposed to the investment side. And but at the same time, like, I'm still seeing strong areas of the market. And I think one of the things that we're going to really have to need to start looking at more in the future is like the PWCC auction block. So yesterday, if you guys don't know, PWC auction block went live for the month of December. So what I always do is I go through every card that I have any sort of plans to purchase in the future. I'll put my bid in like the day of, because in order to get to that extended bidding, you need to get your bid in order to be eligible for that extended bidding. So that's what I always do. And I try to get in prices at like $10, $11, super low. So when it comes time, like, if I don't want that card or if the prices get too far out of the realm of like what I think that card is worth, I don't have to buy it. So I put bids in and literally like hundreds of cards. I went back today just for, shits and giggles. I was like, I just want to see, like, what are the prices for some of these cards already at? The price action on some of these cards is stupid right now. And PWCC, like, there we might get to a point that some cards, not all the cards, a very few of these cards, they're going to start catching premiums that we're not even seeing on eBay. Like, I sneeze every single live stream. I swear to God, I think I'm allergic to this camera. But yeah, we're already seeing prices on PWCC that are like crazy high. And I'm shocked by it. Like, literally shocked. I do wish I waited to put some of my stuff at auction, but I'm going to send another auction block. Obviously, it's way too late for December, but I'm going to send cards for January. I learned my lesson from the October auction, so I know what not to send. I'm just going to send some more of my high-end stuff, and that's what I always use PWCC in the past for, is that my eBay account was always to sell lower dollar amount cards, so I'd say anything between, go down from $20 to like $250. Those were the cards I'd rather sell on my eBay account, but anything higher, just with the protection and, the fraud and all the stuff that could come with it, like, I always felt so much more comfortable selling that stuff through PWCC. But now, what I've been doing too with the PWCC, with their fixed auction, is that every single card that is in my PWCC vault right now is just at fixed auction, every one of them. Like, I just pick a dollar amount that I feel comfortable with. Let's say you pick up I don't know, let's say you pick up some graded slab for $30. With their fixed auction fees and whatever, if you put a price of like $60, if you think that what people are willing to pay $60, like, it got easy. You talk about like the buy it now option on eBay where you still have to post stuff and list stuff, like, it is literally a click away on PWCC. So everything is just now fixed auctions. And yeah, fixed auctions, same thing with buy it now. You're not going to price that stuff below market value unless for whatever reason you're really trying to liquidate it super fast. But I'm not in that position. So now all my PWCC fixed auction prices are, what I think are competitive prices, but are still fair. Like, a lot of these things are already selling, and PWCC is one of those. It There's no money getting taken out anymore, because now it's just like a weird circle of money going around in PWCC. It's like, money goes in my account, money goes out of my account to the auction. Money cards go into my account, then they go to the fixed auction. Then the money from the fixed auction goes, and then it's just playing a super crazy dangerous game. But what was I even talking about? I went off on a crazy tangent about PWCC. I'm sorry. I think the question we were talking about was feeling burned out, and now I talk about PWCC. But yeah, right now I'm not feeling burned out. Like, I'm feeling way more rejuvenated about Pokemon. And yeah, maybe there's just not as much like breaking news every 5 seconds, and people are not just stonking out on Pokemon cards like it's the greatest investment ever. People are starting to realize stuff, but I'm seeing cards still hit crazy prices. And the crazier thing too is the buying pressure that I'm seeing for the raw too, because that was one of the things that I think really bothered me the most, because I have never been a huge buy a card graded and, try to flip that card or buy that card graded and put it into my collection. Like, do not get me wrong at all. That was always part of it. Like, I can't say that it wasn't a huge part of what I used to do, but it wasn't like the huge part of what I do. What I always did was, pick up cards raw, and I'd spend a lot of time trying to find good, high quality, near mint cards raw. And it's definitely one of the harder routes to go, but it was the route that I was always most successful at, where you could pick up some cards. And I mean this, like, truthfully, you could pick up some cards like from these, you know, more vintage sets, especially like some of the EX cards and stuff selling for around $10. Spend $7 to $8 to have that card graded, and that card were selling for like 60, 80, $100. Not always at PSA 10 prices either. So there was always like money to be made there. The problem is it just takes way more time. Like anyone could go on and just find literally any card you're looking for in, excellent 5 condition. Like those cards are easy to find. The hard cards are the really truly near mint cards. And those are the cards that just takes a long time, especially when you start looking for sets or cards that are just not super readily available. Like you can go through a lot of these, EX sets and type in a card name and just go for auctions only, and they probably are not a lot of them out there. And if they are, there's a lot of white and a lot of damage. Trust me, it just takes a long time. But when you start buying those cards raw, you want to talk about the best way to learn a set. The best possible way to learn a set is to start looking for cards. You name the set, you name the holo, you name the EX card. Like you want that EX card. Like, all right, you want to, I don't know, I'm like spacing right now, but you name the EX card. Like you go after that set and you start to look at it, and then when those cards start getting bundles with other cards in that set, you have no other option but to start learning the other cards because you're looking up cards. It's like a constant, like never ending thing. So, but yeah, let's see, Mason. Right now is a fun time. Things are cheap and things are moving. Yeah, and I think that's the thing too, is people think that everything is stagnant too. Like it's not. Like you can go on eBay and go look at a booster box. What is his name? Pro Football Pete or whatever. I think that's where I buy a lot of my booster boxes from, like that eBay account. Like look at how many he sold in the last 24 hours. It's probably like over 100. Like these boxes are still moving by people. Uh I've spent more on PSA 10s the past 2 weeks than the past 20 years combined. I've seen so many cards to grab. Yeah, it's crazy. Like, and but this is the dangerous thing too, right? Especially when you're picking up PSA 10, it doesn't matter if the market's hot or if the market's really cold. You got to keep in mind that no matter where that market is, PSA 10 is going to get whatever the premium of the market is at that given moment. And it doesn't matter. Like if the market could crash, and if that PSA 10 at the crash is still selling for 20, that $20 will literally be like the highest possible area of the market. So when you do buy in time, especially like right now, keep in mind PSA 10s, you're still buying at the height of today's market. Now, you always take the risk is that the market continues its downward trend and that it keeps dropping. So you do just have a little bit more risk that no one's able to really ever truly time the bottom. You can get close, you can manage your risk, you can do things to hedge against the bottom, but it's really impossible to absolutely time it perfectly. So just keep in mind, if you're buying PSA 10s today, even though the prices are lower than they were maybe 6 months ago, it's still at the peak of whatever today is. And that's where it comes to being like a savvy collector and a savvy investor. I think there's a lot of cards out there that you can still do very good in the long term. But then I think there's a lot of cards right now today that are extremely dangerous. Just keep in mind, what are people actually grading? That is the magic word there. Do you think whatever you're buying is something that is going to truly be rare, is going to truly be scarce in 4 years from now? Like those are the things you want to start thinking about, unless you want to try to play like that real quick turn and burn flip game, which is extremely dangerous. But if you're good at it, you can make a lot of money. It doesn't matter what type of market is. If you're good at, turning and burning cards, like you can do good in any market, any market. And I'm a strong believer in that. It's all about like price points, entry points, timing. Like you can make money in the hottest of hottest markets, and you can make money in the bearish of bearish markets. It's just being able to, do what you got to do. Ironic, here in the PNW, we have Pokemon vending machines, and for the past year, they're constantly stocked Hidden Fates tin, but then the rush breaks the machine and I have to walk by every day. Oh, I got you. So you're saying that the machines have Hidden Fates tins stuck in them, but you can't buy because the machines are broken? Oh yeah, that would be a painful thing to watch. Hey, Australian Blastoise, good to see you in the chat. What are your thoughts on PSA 8 gold stars and outlier of lower graded cards that will always hold demand? So, all right, you could go a lot with PSA 8 gold stars. I think PSA, or okay, let me get my chain of thought because this is going to be a good one. Gold stars are valuable, no doubt about it. But you got to keep in mind that people are very well aware of that fact at this point. Gold stars, nobody's sleeping on gold stars anymore. Gold stars are hot. PSA 8 prices are still selling at an extremely high premium. Now, if you were going to go that route and you said, okay, I'm going to go after a gold star, but I'm not going to go after like a 9, I'm not going to go after a 10, I want to go after like these lower S still near mint grades like 7s, 8s, 8.5s. If you're going to do that and you want to do it for the long term, I think you have a lot of good plays out there, especially like, the unknown grading card companies, aka CGC. If you're going to look at a CGC 8 opposed to a PSA 8, probably, depending on the card, you always got to look at the condition, probably like some pretty good crossover grade potential in the future, especially on a lot of these gold star cards. So I just want to make sure I'm reading your question correctly. Oh, I lost your question. I just want to make sure I'm answering it the way you're asking. Holding demand in lower grades. I think, yeah, okay. So the demand in lower grades, yes, gold stars will hold the demand in lower grades for a while because I'm a strong believer that given enough time, people eventually move to the more vintage cards. And that huge area people are going to move to is probably a lot of that EX stuff. Yes, there's the obvious with Wizard of the Coast that people will move there, but people are probably already starting to move out of Wizard of the Coast right now and moving into more of these EX sets. And we've already started to see this like stronger demand for a lot of these cards. Prices for a lot of these EX cards are really starting to tick up. So if people do want to start, acquiring some of these gold stars and the PSA 8, PSA 9, PSA 10 prices for a lot of these gold stars have already creeped out of their price range. Because when you think about it, some of these gold stars, you'd be talking 10, 20, Gold Star Torchic, which we found out never actually got paid for, $50,000. Like these price points creeped away the same way we saw like first edition shadowless cards. PSA 10 prices for those went crazy, but you can still pick up those cards in lower grade for still, relatively cheap prices. And there's still a lot of people buying, even like, I don't know, a Zapdos at PSA 5 shadowless first edition. People are still paying a decent amount of money for that card at lower grades, and people will do the same thing with gold stars. It's all about being able to acquire these cards at price points that make sense to you. Uh, oh man, my chat is going. I keep scrolling up. Sorry, guys. Flex. All right. Professor Oak said, "I spent more on PSA 10. Sorry, we already read that one." Douglas said, "I read that. Oh, okay. Here we go. I got an Ancient Mew yesterday, absolutely immaculate for $20, Professor Oak said. So I'm guessing that's graded. You got it for $20, or did you pick up a sealed one for $20? Feel like the people in Pokemon right now are the people that actually like Pokemon. Scalpers have drifted away from what I can tell. Yeah, I think there's still like the normal scalpers are still there. I think the scalpers always know like whatever the hot product is. They might not know like the actual sets, might not know the actual cards, but I'm sure they're still going after like ultra premium collections and stuff like that. Stuff that still does have that like super easy liquidity, super high resale value. I saw some really like questionable sales on TCG Player where ultra premium collection boxes were selling for like the $180 mark, but I think those are all fake sales. I know people try with bots to like, because if you know like how TCG Player works, is if prices start to drop fast enough, people have it where their listings automatically will be like 10% above the lowest price list. And so people try to like switch that or like confuse that with bots. I don't sell on TCG Player, so I don't know if that actually works or not, but I know a lot of people try to do that. So uh, uh, yeah, Professor Oak said, I feel really good about where we are right now. The Flex God said we are in the happy medium right now. And I think you're right. And when you capitalize happy, you're right. It's a happy time. Like it is a time that's actually like fun again because we're not at bottom yet. And are we going to get to bottom? What does bottom look like? Who knows? Like you can go on the most dire of dire situation where the bottom is $30 booster boxes. It's going to take a long time to get there. And I don't personally think we'll ever see that. But, when you talk about happy medium, like I think we are at that happy medium. We're still seeing product like sell, products that are in demand, products that are the ones that really make sense. Yeah, I'm not sorry that what is that shitty product? Uh Mini portfolios. I'm not sorry that mini portfolios are sitting on the shelves. I'm not. But when it comes to the more premium products that are selling, it just goes back to what I've said on this channel forever, that the hobby will eventually move away from just sets and we'll talk about products. Products will be investable in the long term in the future, and sets will just be like a different subclass. And it will be more just on literally like booster boxes and stuff like that, but it's going to be more about the products and mainly products that have really good promo cards or products that don't have the typical sort of like release as everything else. So, uh, Flex God says, oh, Australian Blaster, Diamond and Pearl level X cards and PSA 10 getting some major love recently. Yeah. And I talked about level X cards on this channel like a couple months back, and they weren't even doing close to what they're doing right now. I know, Z&G from Z&G Emporium, his auction block had a bunch of level X cards, and some of them went for really high dollar amounts. So, you know what? Level X cards, another one of those things is there's probably a lot more level X cards out there, in my opinion, than a lot of people maybe think that are just not graded. The problem is just going to be, when are these level X cards going to start to flood them, or not flood the market, really start to hit the market? I think for some of these level X cards, that with the huge hype of Pokemon, level X cards prices were still like lagging behind a little bit. They weren't really right there with like first edition base or all the WotC stuff, like, or even like a lot of the e-reader stuff. I think level X cards, they missed their mark when it came to like the PSA grading turnaround times. But when prices start to drop, I think we will see a lot of level X cards hit the market in like 3-4 years. But it's going to be super subjective of what is a lot of level X cards. Like, is it going to be a stupid amount of them? No, there won't. Level X cards are still relatively hard to pull at the time. When you look at some of these booster box breaks people are doing, and they're only pulling like one, sometimes two level X cards in a booster box, like uh PokeRev's most recent Diamond and Pearl box he didn't pull one level X card. So sometimes you could have boxes like that one where he literally didn't pull one, and then the next booster box he opened, he pulled one. So it can, so he opened two Diamond and Pearl era booster boxes. I don't remember which ones he did. I want to say maybe Mysterious Treasures was one of them, but I don't remember. So, uh, let's see. I'm excited for a little less momentum so I could buy out collections again. Yeah, buying out collections, that's where it's at, man. Jay said, I haven't sold nearly anything in the last 7 years of collecting. This bear market or bull are worlds away from what I was, accustomed to. No, Jay, you're right, and I think that's what some people maybe not understanding. And I think it's more. And I hate to do it, but I'm going to do it again. Call them the paper-handed people, and I know that's like a crypto term or a stock market term, but yeah, it's like that paper-handed sort of Pokemon investor where they're seeing dips right now in the market and they're freaking out. And I'm trying to be like, listen, stop freaking out about this. This is not bad. Like, we can show you what really bad looks like. Like, so I do agree with you there, Jay. There was like an 11-year-old kid today at the card shop, and he was talking about how Quapulus cards were rare and valuable, and it gave me a lot of faith in the future. Oh, that's awesome. You know, got a Quapulus came out in 2012. Was that 11-year-old even alive yet? You know, I guess he was not alive. No, that's pretty easy math, actually. It was 20, almost 20 years ago. Aquapolis came out. You got an 11-year-old talking about that. Like, yeah, that definitely would give me a lot of faith in the future of the hobby. I want to know, Flex God, if you actually like asked him a little bit, asked him some questions like, why do you like Aquapolis? And then what if he was just like, well, it was the first ever set with crystal cards and there was a Lugia in there? Would you just be like, you are the future of the hobby. I bow to your presence. Like, he's going to be the guy that will be in one of our chats, 10 years from now with some monster collection. Uh, Ancient Mew said, do you think there's going to do an Ancient Mew reprint or more ancient type of cards? I think there's already one Ancient Mew reprint a while back. I don't think we'll see another one. No, I think that was just that one and done Pokemon movie type promo kind of thing. But Ancient Mew for a lot of people is like one of those very iconic cards from a lot of people's collections growing up. I think a lot of people, when they look at that Ancient Mew, like definitely like think of that card. So, whoa, Ancient Muse. Yeah. Bob Thrasher, good to see you in the chat. I'm just patiently waiting for one more dip. Yeah. How do you personally feel about old PSA 8.5 grades? I hate them. And how would you personally price that smack bang in the middle of an 8 and 9 prices? Listen, I'm bad. CGC gives a lot of 8.5. So I kind of value CGC 8.5s higher than CGC 8s, but I still value PSA 8s over CGC 8.5s. Me personally, and this might sound crazy, but I would rather just prefer PSA 8 or PSA 9. And one of the reasons is just literally for the question you asked, like the liquidity in the future of 8.5s versus 8s. 8s just seem to have a much stronger price point, or, it just makes the liquidity of that card easier. There are not a lot of people out there really go after 8.5s. And when you talk about an 8.5 for PSA, there's not even like the thought process of, well, maybe I'll crack this slab in the future and try to resubmit it, maybe get a 9 or maybe get an 8. Like that's not worth it even in the slightest bit. So I don't like 8.5s. I wish PSA did not do 8.5s. I do wish they did like 7.5s because that kind of makes sense to me, but 8.5s don't. The Reshiram Charizard and the Pika Zephram will be fantastic products in 10 years, even though right now they're getting left on shelves and laughed at. I don't know if they're getting laughed at. And I like cards like that, like, because anytime you got like a Walmart exclusive, especially in today's hype, with that Pikachu and Charizard and Reshiram for the Walmart, and then the Pikachu Zekrom one for GameStop. First of all, they're awesome cards. Like I got a couple of the boxes, and the cards are awesome. They're really well done. The jumbos for that are back to like the older style jumbos, because they definitely like shrunk down jumbos more recently, but they're definitely back to the big ones. And I don't know if those jumbos are back to being bigger because for whatever reason, like that product maybe should have came out in the past and it didn't, and it just got put on the back burner for whatever reason, and that's why it's back to those more jumbo type promos. But the jumbos are nice if you're a jumbo collector. The cards are nice, and then plus with 10 packs in that, I mean, I don't know, I don't see the downfall of that product. Like, what is the MSRP for those? $59.99 10 packs plus a pro and plus a jumbo. That Charizard graded, even in the long term, probably be like I'd say if you get a PSA 9, PSA 10, even after the prices crash and, all those cards get graded in the long run, listen, if we can see the freaking crappy promo from a Hidden Fates tin still sell strong at $25, I don't see any reason that gold Charizard won't sell for like $50 in the future. And assuming you get those get them graded at $10 again. And again, we do a lot of leaps of faith that PSA will ever lower their prices and start grading bulk again. But no, it's a long-term play, and just put those things in your collection anyways. Have them raw. Who cares? Let's see. Um, Pokemon said, "I'm surprised by how many people are sticking around in the hobby this long. Uh, feel today's modern is tomorrow's vintage," and a lot of people have said that. So, Chu and Annie said that, and you could be right. And we've talked about it before on this channel. Like, yes, it's definitely possible that today's modern could be tomorrow's vintage, because, and I've said this so many times, that is so hard to teach people about sets or get people interested in sets. And there's a lot of people opening a lot of this modern stuff and could tell you every single chase card, every single alternative art, how it was released, things that a lot of people can't do. You can name a lot of sets, talk about, like, I don't know, think the last three. So think about like the last three EX sets. You know, find me a lot of people that could tell you every card in Holland Phantoms, every card in Crystal Guardians, every card in Dragon Frontiers. Like, out of those three sets, they could probably tell you the gold stars. They could probably tell you that Dragon Frontiers had the Charizard and Mew gold star. They could probably tell you that in Holland Phantoms, it was the Gyarados Gold Star, Pikachu Gold Star, and Mewtwo Gold Star. You could probably find people to tell you like the hits, but they can't tell you everything else. But you could find people here now. I could go downstairs and pull some random common, random uncommon from a Battle Styles or Evolving Skies or Chillin' Rain, and somebody would be able to look at that common or uncommon and literally be able to tell me, oh, that card came from Chillin' Rain. Like, that is extremely, extremely impressive, you know? Like, the only sets that I could really do that for is a very small handful that I've really spent a lot of time researching, or, and this is the huge or, and this is the giant but in the world, or the sets I opened when I was a kid. If you show me a base set, if you show me a jungle, if you show me a fossil, or probably even Team Rocket, if you show me any of those commons, uncommons, I could quickly identify exactly what set that came in, because those cards are almost like scorched, ingrained, embedded, you know, a part of my DNA at this point. Like, you could show me a base set Charizard, base set Charmander, it doesn't matter. I'll be able to tell you, like, yes, I know exactly what set that is from. And that Charizard is number 4 in the set. Like, you can do stuff like that. And I think with this modern stuff, people are actually being able to do that. Like, identify stuff at that sort of way. And you can't really put a value on that. So can you say that today's modern could be tomorrow's vintage? Yes. Now, when you talk about that though, and people will be like, yeah, do you really? And again, it goes back to what I said earlier. It's like, well, do you really think the prices will be equivalent? No. But I still believe that in years from now, today's modern will still catch a premium over what it's selling at right now at distributor level pricing, which is what a lot of sets are doing. So I think that's a great comment, though. Uh, Pretty much from all right. So Flex God is talking about the kid who liked Aquapolis. Pretty much from what his mom said, he's trying to comprise as many sets as he can, and he spends hours every day looking up all the card price research and all the sets. She said he wants to start a card shop eventually. She was super supportive of the hobby, and his goal too, which was super heartwarming, was see apparently go hunting at card shops together. Oh, that's awesome. Especially the fact that his mom is, involved in this hobby with him. And I know personally me, like a lot of the things and a lot of like my collecting mindset and stuff like that, I get all that stuff from my mom. Like my mom was definitely like into all that collecting mindset. Bought me my first pack of Pokemon cards, was definitely supportive, brought me to the Pokemon League at Toys R Us on Saturday mornings. Like that was my mom. So if he has that mom, that kid is already set up for like success in the future for this hobby. He's going to find out real hard that we've all found out that a lot of these sets are very hard to, complete, especially for these older ones. For some of these, especially like Aquapolis, once you say, I want to start completing my master set, let me start going after all the reverse hollows of this set, you're going to hit that wall like bam. You hit that wall fast. Bob Thrasher says, I want a Mewtwo Gold Star promo, maybe Fusion Strike collection box. Where do you see Japanese gold GX tag team booster boxes in 5 years? Japanese, I don't like talking about Japanese because I don't like Japanese. I don't really invest or collect Japanese. Like I have some like every other person, but I'm not like super into it. But with that said, as long as sets like that don't get reprinted, which people say it's not possible, and it's probably not possible. Japanese products, booster boxes like that don't get real late reprints. But keep in mind, everybody said that with Shining Star V. Shining Star V is not going to get a reprint, and then Shining Star V got a reprint. Not only did it get a reprint, got a reprint really fast. So if that product does not get a reprint anytime soon, I think that would be a decent collection. I mean, there's already so many cards in that are super iconic already. So I think in 5 years from now, that will do good if you are a Japanese collector, which I'm not. Let's see. Tag teams could be brought in so far. They couldn't even bring a trainer. They could even bring a trainer into the mix. Brandon said, bro, you're lagging by a few minutes. Oh, no. Smitty said, the pictures of kids playing with hyper-inflated stacks of cash and my toddler son throwing around his CGC 6.5 junk slabs. Same vibe. Oh, that's funny. CGC 6.5 junk slabs. Unless they're Raichu slabs, unlimited, then they're not junk. Oh no, my son's crying. Pokemon hobby is like a roller coaster. Ride and serious Pokemon collectors enjoy the ride, and short-term collectors want to get off when it goes up and down. Yeah, man. All right. I hear my son crying in the room behind me. But anyways, guys, I appreciate every single one of you guys for tuning in. This live went on for like hour 12 minutes. And like I said, this was just a spur of the moment kind of thing. I didn't really have anything planned, but I appreciate every one of you guys. And I'll catch you on the next video.